All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining another episode of New Camp Campfire. It is a very special episode today, and I know I kind of say that all the time, like every episode is special, but this one is very special. It's the very first time that I actually have three guests joining, and that's a first. And then we have also the pleasure of welcoming JP Morgan Chase, and really represented by Angie here, Jose, and Charles. And we're going to talk about getting a job at JP Morgan Chase and how you actually get to do that. And we'll hear from Angie and Jose and Charles on their experience doing that. So first and foremost, I'd love to welcome all of you here, Angie, Jose, Charles. Would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners? Let's start with you, Angie.
Sure, yeah. So my name is Angie Del Castillo. Thank you all so much for having us today. I'm a recruiter for our emerging talent software engineer cohort opportunity that we hire for at JPMorgan Chase. We look for entry level developers who have gained their foundational coding skills, typically from non-traditional pathways. So that can be from coding boot camps, workforce development programs. You could have learned to code off of YouTube in your basement. But if you have those basic skills, we would love to see your application. And we have our next cohort where we'll bring on a large group of engineers in our 7 tech centers across the country. We are on a hybrid model for a day in October, and then our application will be a couple of days here.
That's awesome. Welcome. Thank you, Angie. And we'll talk about what it takes to apply and the application process and all that with you. Charles, would you mind introducing yourself next?
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, my name is Charles. I'm actually out of the Houston office. I joined the program last October. Got the offer last September, started last October. So I've been working for about 9 months with JP Morgan. I work with the legal technologies team, and yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for
All
inviting
right. Well,
us.
we'll talk more about your journey and your experience. Jose, how about you?
So my name is Jose Lozano. I joined the same time Charles did last September. I work in Plano though, in the corporate sector line of business, and I work under for the consumer analytics reporting infrastructure team. I'm a have a few projects, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, it's I'm glad to be here and hopefully answer a lot of your questions.
All right, that's awesome. Well, speaking of questions, there's a ton of questions and people really looking forward to this stream already. We'll get to those questions in a second. I just want to say, if you're listening, you're probably listening on either YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook. You can ask your questions. So we're going to look at the questions here. I'm going to say hi to Cothin, for example, here. Hi to Andrew. So if you have any question for Angie, Charles, or Jose about the company, the program, you can ask them in the chat, and we'll make sure that we address them. There's another way to have a conversation with us if you desire to do that, and I know some people are very nervous about doing it, but you can also on your phone, on your laptop, follow this link, url.newcam.co/dial-in, and that will bring you with us, like with your camera, your video, your microphone, and you'll be able to have a conversation live with us. So either way works. We'll answer all your questions. We have Seth here saying hello, an anonymous LinkedIn user asking a question. We're going to get to that in a second. What I would love to start with, Angie, is pretty much bringing us, to the top. I would say we've been mentioning that you all work for JP Morgan Chase. What is JP Morgan Chase? What's the company about? What do they do? What do they sell? Why also are they seeking so many developers at this moment in time?
Yeah, absolutely. So JPMorgan Chase is a financial services firm. So all of our products are going to be in the financial space across our different lines of business. And you could work, as a software engineer anywhere from our asset and wealth management, which manages billions of assets for our clients. And we work with everyone from real estate investors to corporations and organizations to also governments as well. 80% of Fortune 500 companies in the US do business with JPMorgan Chase.
80%?
80% of Fortune 500 companies
Wow.
are choosing to do, they have financial needs as well, and they're choosing to use us to provide the services. So, banks, we have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, starting out as those brick and mortar institutions that everyone had to go to, before cell phones and apps were a thing. And now everything is becoming so digital. And very tech forward. So definitely, as we are looking to be ahead of the industry with that, and a lot of innovation going on, we have a lot of technology need. 50,000 technologists are at JPMorgan Chase across the globe. That's ranging from New York, San Francisco, Hong Kong. Yeah. So a lot of technology need, a lot of things like legacy systems that are being updated, new applications rolling out, things like that. And then of course we have like the consumer and community bank Chase, which most people might be most familiar with, where you personally could have like a debit or credit card. That's also like a lot of products there that you could touch and work on.
Gotcha. And so what is your role in the company?
Yeah, so my role, I am a recruiter for the emerging talent software engineer opportunity. So I oversee kind of the creation of our interview process. And then when that application does open, because we hire in a cohort style, I kind of am putting like many people through one step at a time. So everyone submits their application at the same time. We're evaluating that. Everyone goes through the first interview process at the same time. We're going through that. Everyone attends our final interview, which we'll touch on later as our hackathon. We're going through that. And then we extend all of our offers at once. So that takes a few weeks for me to, make all of those calls for our cohort. All of that. So we're kind of getting everyone through the process, and then during our off season, kind of getting everything in shape and ready to go for that. And then when my weeks slow down a little bit, software engineer, and more about them, especially if they're on Plano campus, I can grab lunch or coffee with them, kind of just see what they're liking about their job. Because, as much as I'm a non-technical person myself, it's still just so interesting to me to hear about all of the different things that they work on.
Gotcha. So you are in Plano yourself, and you have there's a tech center in Plano as well. And I think, Jose, that's where you are from, right? That's where you work. Awesome.
Correct.
So,
correct.
Can I ask you a few questions about the genesis of that program? I mean, it's, back in the days, you were looking for software engineers. You were going to go to colleges. You were going to, ask, all the computer scientists, graduate to join the company. Can you tell us a little bit the reason for JPMorgan Chase to really seek those different profiles, right? Those different pathways into tech. When did it start? How much is JPMorgan really investing in that? Why is it so strategic for them at this moment?
Yeah, absolutely. That's an excellent question. And because this program is a bit of a baby, I'd love to answer that. But I'll start off with saying we have a $12 billion annual investment towards technology in the firm. And if, those who aren't familiar, just know that is a massive number and really industry leading. And it definitely rivals the amount of money that some major tech companies. And then 3 billion of that is dedicated towards brand new initiatives and innovation. So we're very much, putting up the money to make sure that, again, we're leading the industry, staying on top of new technologies. And then so how the program started. Yeah. So like you said, traditionally the way was, you find people with a computer science major, bachelor's or master's degree that kind of came through that path. And so a couple of years ago, these boot camps were starting to become more popular. And then we kind of hired on a one-off situation, like, okay, let's kind of try it as a guinea pig. Let's see if it works. Okay, they came in from a boot camp. They're doing successful. Let's try a few more and a few more until we realized that this is actually a very viable source of talent for the firm. And so now let's create a program around this where we will bring on hundreds of software engineers each year from these boot camps. And that number is only growing because as our tech need is growing, we need more people in the door. And then it's just another way to kind of supplement if our university recruiting teams, for some reason, are unable to meet that demand. It's just another kind of source where we can find talent. And also throughout, the year, because bootcamp graduates are graduating all throughout the year versus universities kind of have 2 grad dates a year.
Well, it's not a surprising strategy. Actually, I thought about that. I mean, as an investment bank, you want to diversify your investments, right? It's kind of so you're actually really making sure that you are tapping into any potential source of talent. It doesn't matter the pathway. It doesn't matter. Let me ask you one specific question, because I know that's always top of mind of our graduates, some graduates. Is there any requirements in terms of educational background? Like, do you absolutely require, a GED or a bachelor degree or anything like that to apply? And maybe if you want to extend that, what are the requirements really for someone to apply to your program?
Yeah, there is no educational requirements. You do not have to have any sort of degree. If you do have a degree, maybe in an unrelated field, that's okay. Or even if you have a computer science degree, but took some time away and are coming back, there's so many different pathways into this program. So I just want to say, if you do have a degree, we'll take you. If you don't, absolutely welcome your application. Really the only kind of restriction to apply is that we don't offer any sort of visa sponsorship. So you just need to be permanently authorized to work in the US. And then as long as your timeline works out with us and you're open to one of those 7 locations that we hire in, we would love to see your application.
That's awesome. There's a lot of questions already and also a few comments. I want to share that one with you, Angie.
Thank you so much, Susan.
And there's already a question on this one. I think we're going to try to tackle that one pretty, we have the link. Do you want to say a few things maybe about the timeline for the next cohort? And we have a link, but it's not necessarily functional right now. You want to share a few things around that?
Sorry, about the link?
Yes.
Yes. So we were set up the link for this application for our October cohort today, but unfortunately that wasn't not able to go live due to some technical difficulties. We're working on the back end, but definitely once that does open, I will be sending the link to Ludo and team. I'll be posting on LinkedIn. I'll have the opportunity later to scan a QR code to be added to our email list to receive that link as well. So unfortunately, the link does not exist yet, but we'll make sure to get that to you as soon as we can.
Awesome. And there is that one. That's kind of the main link where at some point in the near future, you're going to have the application link in there. Let me actually paste it in the chat so that you can bookmark it. There you go. So that will be that. Okay. So with that said, this is a very well thought out program. It's not, it's not a random, here's your application form. We'll call you if we're interested. It is really designed with intent to evaluate all the candidates. And I have to say that I really love how it's thought about. Like it's an actual hackathon, right? And I've seen on the chat, there's a few questions about, okay, do I have to have, is that a lead code type of conversation? But there's actually an actual, almost a simulation of putting people into an environment that can allow them to demonstrate, and you'll tell us what you're actually seeking there. But can you tell us really about the program, what the experience is? What to expect if someone actually applies, what are they going to expect? And after that, we'll ask Jose and Charles about their actual experience going through that.
Yeah. So you mean like once they start, what they can expect?
So let's say the link is live. I'm applying on the website. Walk me through what my experience is going to be as a candidate. What should I expect in terms of milestones, in terms of timeline, and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. For the application process.
Yeah.
So again, our application should go live just within the next week here. We'll get that link out when it does. That first step, we'll go to our careers site, put in some basic details. You'll select the location that you're applying to, and as well as submit your resume. Just make sure you're bringing that tech stack to the top that you're most proficient with. Also, where you gained your coding skills. If it was at a boot camp, bring new camp to the top. If you took any YouTube courses, bring that up the top as well. And then highlight any projects, things like that. Once you submit that, you will receive a link to complete our first interview. It'll be 2 separate platforms. One will be a coding challenge on HackerRank, and then also a video interview on HireVue, which will have more behavioral questions and analytical questions along the lines of tell me a time when you X, or if you were faced with Y problem, how would you solve it? That sort of thing. So those 2 steps, coding challenge and video interview, will make up the first interview. After that, my team and I will evaluate those. We're really getting to know you in those videos as well. And so take the opportunity to kind of tell your story, and we want to understand you and your why and your journey and things like that. So once we evaluate that, we will determine who to invite to our final interview, which will be our hackathon.
Gotcha.
So that will be the 12-hour virtual hackathon taking place on August 11th. It's a mandatory part of the interview process, but I love how you said it's like a simulation of what it's like to work at JPMorgan Chase, because that's exactly what we want it to be. It's an experiential interview where we want to assess both your hard and soft skills, but also you're getting the chance to see what it's like to work in the collaborative, fast-paced environment. You may be communicating across, state lines and paired with someone in a different state than you.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then you'll have about 9 dedicated hours to coding.
So
Specifically,
hold that thought, because
Okay.
I have a few questions. We're going very fast. But I have a few questions, and then I think we have someone just joined us, Eric. So we'll bring Eric on the stage after that as well. So you mentioned those 2 activities that are really the very first step: the HackerRank, and then the video platform interview, where I think you're probably recording a video about yourself.
Mhm.
Everyone who applies goes through that, right? So like there's a 100% of applications that are invited to provide their HackerRank and video interviews, I guess.
Yeah, for that
Yeah.
first portion, the only reason you would not is if you selected you're not authorized to work in the US permanently.
gotcha.
Yeah, so that's the only thing.
So
But otherwise,
that's
everyone
awesome.
will be invited to complete that first
And then
process.
from that, can you share with us, like, what's the success rate of people who go through that application? How many actually do you then invite? Like, is it high? Is it low? Is it mid? Like, how much people should actually get their hopes up that they're going to go to that second hackathon phase?
Yeah, it's hard to say because we don't know how many applicants we will receive just yet.
Yeah.
And we've only brought on like 1 official cohort.
Okay.
Like Jose and Charles are actually part of like a pilot cohort. But I will say that it is really competitive to get to the hackathon because, for example, if I have 200, positions to fill, we're not going to invite 800 to the hackathon. We want to keep that ratio kind of fair so that by the time you do get to the hackathon, you have a really good shot at getting an offer. So we do see a lot more of that kind of drop off after the HackerRank and the HireVue.
So if you are invited to the hackathon, you have a much higher chance, of getting into the program after that.
I would definitely say so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's pause for a second. There's a ton of questions online, and then we have Eric who joined us. I'd like to bring in Eric for a quick conversation. Eric, if you have your microphone ready.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you? Welcome.
Great. Just a little nervous. I
That's
just
okay.
had a question for you guys. So my question is, I guess for Charles and Jose, is there anything you guys did to, stand out from your application, as far as any certifications or any specific projects you guys made. I know there's a bunch of free courses like Coursera, but I just want to hear what you guys have to say about that.
I can
That's a
go
great
first, I
question.
guess.
Go for it, Jose.
I'm gonna say these things, but I don't know if it actually worked. I don't know. But I'm gonna tell you what I did, all right?
Okay.
So obviously, I did a lot of leak code practice, and there's like a little extension that if you do the problems, and you can save them directly to your GitHub account, and it will show activity on your GitHub. So I did a lot of that every day for about 2-3 months, and then I did a lot of courses on LinkedIn because I'm a veteran. So like I had a year free of like LinkedIn. So and LinkedIn Learning comes free with it. So I did a lot of LinkedIn Learning courses, and then but obviously attached them to my LinkedIn profile, and then I took some assessments. Same thing. Once you complete an assessment, it goes on your LinkedIn profile, and then I did a lot of resume prep. So I make sure I got the job posting, and took the keywords from it, and converted it into what it relate to me. I didn't like lie or anything, but hey, these are the words they're using. This is what I did. Let me merge them together, and that's what I did pretty much. I just a lot of learning, a lot of self development, and then I did do a lot of prep mock interviews, technical interviews. Because honestly, my first real live one, it was a total disaster, honestly, and it kind of it shook my confidence. So after that, I kind of rededicated myself to uh, doing those, practicing those. I had a lot of help from my boot camp. My instructor, he dedicated some off-duty time to kind of do some with me, and I kind of practice with my peers a little bit. So that I think that helped a lot.
That's great.
Okay.
How about you, Charles? What did you do, you think, to stand
I was
out?
gonna say they didn't tell us anything like why we got picked or anything like that. They were just like, "Hey, here's the offer." We're like, "Yes, please." The no, but I actually went into the hacker ranks and the leak codes and stuff like that pretty raw. I hadn't done a whole lot of them. We didn't focus a lot on it in our boot camps or anything like that. And I had been practicing more interview skills and just shotgunning my interviews and talking to anybody that would talk to me, and boosting the confidence about the way you talk about tech and the way you talk about yourself is a huge part of I think because I absolutely bombed my hacker rank and my leak code. So I was extremely surprised when they called me and they were like, "Hey, you want to come to the hackathon?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So I think it really I said they didn't tell us, and it really just depends on the person. So.
Well, I love, if you don't mind, Angie, to put you on the spot. What do you look for in candidates? Like in your mind, which ones are standing out? If you can share that with us, without
Yeah.
revealing too much of your secrets, of course. But
No, I love to share, helpful tips and tricks. I will say, like, I wasn't around again, they came in, Jose and Charles as a part of a pilot program. So my team literally did not exist. So I didn't have the pleasure of reviewing their application. So I couldn't even tell you what made them stand out. But I will say, I know some things that we look for. Definitely going back to like that higher view in the video interview, I think it really stands out if you are able to kind of tell the story of why you want to be here. And I think another thing that we look for is like, why us and why this program? We do receive such a high volume of applicants. And if you can really articulate, like, what about JPMorgan Chase? And, at the end of the day, it's kind of stroking our ego a little bit, but we really want to know, like, why do you want to be here? Have you kind of done your research beforehand to understand more about us? So explaining kind of, again, just that why tech, why software engineering, why JPMorgan Chase, why this opportunity at JPMorgan Chase, take the opportunity. I'm trying to think some other things that stand out. I think if you show that you, like in a resume, some things that are good to see is like career progression. If you were a barista at Starbucks and then you promoted to a team lead, I see that. If you were, at Starbucks for 6 years, I see that you have longevity in your career history. The fact that you went to a boot camp in the first place, I think really shows a lot of grit, or learn to code no matter what your background is, because we see people, one of our software engineers has like a PhD in law. So he went to law school and was fully in that, right? And then just something switched in him. So looking at that resume, for example, and seeing such a background that is, whether it's from law or chemistry or more of like, we have another software engineer in Plano that was an auto mechanic. And you can read some of those stories on our link that you posted earlier, Ludo, some of those stories of where engineers come from. But I think that really just understanding kind of your story helps you to stick out. And then also, of course, if you code a really brilliant solution, that always helps you to stand out as well. But I will say for the coding challenges, we're not looking for the perfect solution. We just really want to understand how you approach a problem, and kind of when you're faced with something that is difficult or you've never seen before, what kind of mode of thinking do you use to start to tackle that problem?
That's really,
I add
really
something real
great.
quick.
Yeah, go for it, Jose.
Okay. When I was going through initially, I kind of put a lot of stock into my coding challenges. I think Charles said the same thing, and I want to say I don't think I bombed it, but I didn't think I did very well. And I came up with, like, out of two problems, I think I came up with like 1.5, or like one of the problems I came up with a half solution, and the other problem I was super close. I just ran out of time. So technically I didn't solve both problems, but I was able to explain where I was going and my my problem solving skills. And I think that's what kind of got me over to the hackathon, and that's where I was able to display a little bit more of like those problem solving skills, and just kind of people working with as a team. I think the actual hackathon, yeah, well, the hackathon, is that where that's if you get there, I think that's where it shine. Just working with other people, solving problems. Hey, this is not going to work. Let's move on to the next problem. And then if you're stuck, reach out for help. I think that's what kind of got us over my whole team got in the hackathon got hired because we were stuck and we asked for help. And there's other teams that got stuck, didn't ask for help, and they didn't really have anything to present. So I think that's one of the other, asking for help too is another thing that kind of would help you out in the process while you're prepping. So
yeah, and I know, Jose, you said like you ran out of time. That's another thing we look at is how much time did you spend. You'll have like an hour to complete both. If you spend 10 minutes on the coding challenge and throw your hands up and walk away, we'll see that this person likely won't be able to A, make it through the hackathon, or B, last at JPMorgan Chase. So just little things like that. Like Jose said he ran out of time, but we see that he tried his hardest to get through with the time that he had.
Eric, what do you think of those answers?
It really helped. Yeah, an answer from everybody really helped, especially. Yeah, it really helped.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. You guys have a good day. Thank you.
Hey, I have to say, I'm really, really impressed with the approach, the program itself. It goes against so much of what people think about when they think about joining a tech company. You hear about the automated robots that's going to scan your resume and just put you in the trash if you don't hit a few keywords. Or you hear about it's all about lead code, lead code, lead code, lead code. And here you really have a brilliant mix of all those things. And then you really add behavior. You actually give a chance to people to shine, not just, one interview, but over the period of a hackathon. And you really give everyone, again, who has that different background, different, maybe their resume is not the best resume, But there's all you really, I mean, it seems you're really looking for the thing that's going to make that person shine in the company, and you're not stopping at the top signals that everybody's looking at. And I'll say for any aspiring developer who has a background that is not a very traditional background, companies like JPMorgan Chase are going to put the effort to do that. Other companies that are really, top 1% software engineering companies like Microsoft, Google, the FANG, where people really dream to join them. But there's really another side of that coin, which is these are the companies that may not give you a chance because they're going to really follow a very traditional way of recruiting. So I think there's really something to be said about this program and how it's designed to really bring as many talent as you can without being too judgmental of any one signal, right? So that's brilliant. There's a few questions here one from Clara. I think we just touched on that. I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think lead code, algorithm tests are still important. It's just not all that's important, right? And guys, can you hear me okay, by the way? Or is my bandwidth?
Sorry, I think I might have froze.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a few times, but we could hear you fine, actually, in the end.
Oh,
Well,
what did you say? What was the question?
Oh, it's on the screen. The question that he
Okay.
asked.
Yeah.
But I think so because that's pretty much where the first step that you have to, overcome is the technical interview or the hacker rank. So I did both hacker rank and lead code. And they're pretty much the same, just different, interface. But I think they just kind of go and look at your problem solving skills and how you approach the problem and your resilience, really, like Angie was saying, if you quit after 5 minutes, you're not going to be very useful to anybody. I wouldn't want you on my team, actually. So
That's fair.
Here's a question from Tiwabi Tadic. And I think we kind of touched on that, but not specifically. What are the specific programming skills that you're searching for? And I don't know if you want to talk about, specific frameworks or how would you answer that one, Angie and Charles and Jose?
Yeah, so we definitely have openings across all tech stacks. I will say the majority of our openings will be more kind of back-end Java focused. That being said, we absolutely have openings that are more like Python or JavaScript heavy, more front-end, full stack. So no matter what kind of coding language you have the background in, we welcome your application. But just keep in mind, we are looking for those lifelong learners who would be open to potentially, maybe having to learn a new technology once you join the firm.
I'll elaborate on that because I came on, I just knew JavaScript Node, and then I, was selected. I kind of, the selection process how to put on your team is a little bit, it's awesome actually, but I'm not going to go into that. But I was put into my team, and they're like, there's a React front end, but basically the majority of the work is the back end, which is in Java and Spring. And I didn't know that. And then, me and my manager had a few conversations like, hey, well, this is pretty much the bulk of the work. So you're going to need to learn Java and Spring, which it's hard, but, he gave me the time. That's what so if you're asked to do something, they're gonna you just gotta communicate with each other. And he pretty much for the first 6 months, the first half of the day, I would just study. I would do a lot. The company has a lot of resources internally that you use for free. And for 4 hours of the day, I was learning Java and Spring. And I'm competent now. I'm not gonna say I'm the best, but I get things done. So it's, and then he kind of tapped me on the shoulder like, hey, after we get this, because I have a few projects going on in Java. I was like, hey, we're gonna have to learn some Python because there's other applications. Our team's pretty big, and we have multiple applications. Java, Angular, React, Python. So it's just the flavor of the day. It's not going to be like, hey, today I need you to code a whole application in Python. It's not like that. But you are expected to learn new technologies,
Well, you know
and
what's
honestly,
great?
it's fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what's great about the list you just mentioned? You didn't mention PHP or COBOL or Fortran, so it's all good. It's all good. Um, Angie, people have been asking, what are the 7 locations? Can you say something about, like, when you get, if you get an offer from JP Morgan Chase, is it going to be a, those days people really wonder, is it going to be in the office type of thing, or do you offer also sometimes remote positions? And are these the 7 locations that you recognize?
Yes, those are. So we, like, as from New York, we don't have openings specifically in the New York office, but if you're in that area, you can apply to the openings that are Jersey City location. But yeah, and then it's Wilmington, Delaware, Chicago, Columbus, Houston, Plano, Jersey City, Tampa, Wilmington, Delaware. Yeah, those are the 7 locations that we are opening for this October cohort. We may add a couple more in 2023. And then, as far as the hybrid model, so we don't have any fully remote positions right now. And then as far as the hybrid model, you can expect to be in the office 2 to 3 days per week. That specific schedule goes, it's kind of like varies team by team, but I would love to hear from, because I really think the benefit of that is kind of, as a software engineer and learning, is like, I feel like Jose and Charles could answer best kind of the benefits of that hybrid model.
Mm-hmm.
If y'all want
Yeah, I'll
Oh,
take it.
yeah.
So I'll keep it short. I want to dominate the thing, but I know it's a lot of it's fun. Well, it's not fun, but a lot of people want to work from home, which I do too. But honestly, I kind of enjoy going to the office because it just all the benefits. I sit across from my manager, and then there's other members of my team that work in Plano. But my team is like all over. There's some team members in India. We're pretty much here in the U.S. and India, but I'm able to, the people that are here in Plano, they're like, hey, I got a problem with this, can you help me out? And that person to person in the office interaction it's especially when you're learning something new is so valuable, because if you're just sitting at home waiting for somebody to answer an email or a Skype message or some kind of electronic communication, it's harder. It's just not, you're learning, it's just that interaction. It's better. Those follow-on questions that you have after, you understand one thing, but then the next thing you don't understand, they're a lot easier in person.
Yeah, that makes total sense. That makes sense. So actually, continuing on that line of questioning, the hackathon itself, is it one location where you're holding those hackathon,
It'll
or
be
is it?
virtual. Yeah.
It will be. Sorry, say that again.
It's virtual. Yeah.
It's virtual. Okay, so the hackathon itself is online. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
The hackathon is
And
online.
so, how much time does it take, that hackathon? How long is it?
It's a 12-hour hackathon, so it'll be from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Wow.
So if you are in the West Coast,
Cool.
definitely an early morning start. We had people attend our last hackathon from Hawaii, Vietnam, France, California.
Oh, that's cool.
So 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern, and then between a welcome and closing and presentations, you'll have about 9 dedicated hours to coding.
Wow, that's awesome. That's huge. And so you are part of a project team, right? So you assign a project to the team. Did you choose who your teammates are going to be, or is it completely random?
It's random.
No, so we will who your team is one day before the hackathon. So that way, and we'll set you up with a Slack channel, so you can introduce yourselves. Some people, might set up a call to do like a skills inventory, if you will, of kind of, hey, is anyone more front end or back end focused on this team? And then the day of is when we will give you the hackathon challenge. So you
That
can't
feels like something that should be televised, and there should be, American Idol type of thing where this sounds pretty fun. Although if it's only online, it's going to be hard to put a camera behind it. But yeah, that's awesome. Oh wow. Okay, so I'm just going through the questions here. Okay, we have someone actually who's an alumni for New Camp. Oh, no kidding. Currently working at Hey, did you hire Ashwarya?
I'm not sure if Ashwarya came through like a previous cohort. Excellent. That a New Camp alum and doing well at JPMorgan Chase. That's awesome.
Well, the way the whole thing started, I think, is Angie, you said, hey, I think we've hired a few of your guys, and we'd like to do more of that.
Yes.
And so we
Yes.
and so we started those partnership conversations a while back. But yeah, we're really thrilled to see that we have several New Camp alumni actually already working at JPMorgan Chase.
Yes.
I don't know if you're going to be answered that question, but it's so specific that I have to put it from Susan.
Any need for C# MVC? I'm sure there's an opening that needs that tech stack within the firm. And then another thing I've seen as well, once you join, you could be kind of one thing and asked to, like Jose mentioned, asked to pivot to another. So you could, start on like with a different coding language, and then maybe be asked to work more on like a C# application. So the answer is yes, but also kind of a vague yes.
Yeah, and I wouldn't limit yourself to just one language, honestly, because I thought it was going to be super, super hard to learn Java, which it is. But honestly, a lot of once you learn a language, I've seen it that like, hey, all these principles, a lot of the stuff translates. So it's not like, it's not super like hard and foreign to learn a new language. It's what I've learned. So.
Right.
I just want to remind the audience that if you are comfortable with it, you can join that link, url.newcamp.co/dial-in, microphone and camera on, and you can have a conversation just like we had Eric. I think Eric was the name a few minutes ago. We always do that. Love to do that. There's one more question, and that may put you on the spot, maybe a little, Angie, but I think we need to talk about it as much as you can. And I'll actually take that question further than this one. Like, did they pay you while you learned? I think you were in the program, Jose. But Angie, can you talk about, what to expect in terms of compensation, what you can share, obviously, and I'll put some color to that. There's a ton of new programs that are apprenticeship programs, for example, or intern programs. One question then would be: Is this program an apprenticeship program, or is it different? And what should people expect? Like, are they going to be full-time employees? Is there a trial period? Can you help us understand that how it all works from an employment standpoint, compensation standpoint?
Absolutely. So as far as compensation, I'm not able to disclose like specific salaries, but it definitely is competitive to the market. And it is, when you join, this is a full-time role with JPMorgan Chase. It is not an internship or an apprenticeship or a contract, and there's no like probation, like we're not trying you out for a few months and then converting you or anything like that. And the salary will reflect that as well. It is an entry level, again, full-time software engineer role and salary. You start off with, full-time benefits from day one and things like that. But some things that you can expect is we have, so I am obviously a recruiter on the recruiting team. We have a dedicated program management team who our program managers kind of take over once you start, because I get you in the door. And then once you start, me and you, I don't really have a job with you anymore. But once you start, our program managers are there to act as your advocates and make sure that you are successful. They'll also facilitate when you start. You'll have a 5-week induction training. All of that, is part of your role. So you are being paid at that time. You'll start off with a 5-week induction training. You'll start off, you're coming into a cohort. You have a lot of that peer support, both in your location and in all the other locations of your cohort. You will have access to mentorship opportunities, access to senior leaders. The induction training focuses a lot on the technical skills and kind of helping you to understand all the different technologies and platforms that we work with at JPMorgan Chase. But throughout your first 2 years at the firm, we'll also cover more of those soft skills, because I was just on with a software engineer today who didn't know how to send me a calendar invite in Outlook, because he'd never worked with Outlook, because his only job prior to this was working at Dairy Queen. And so we'll cover those things like how to work Zoom, how to send a calendar invite, how to, those Excel and presentation skills, things like that, because, making it in a corporation like JPMorgan Chase is more than just the technical skills, but also those soft
Oh,
Yep.
don't you
kind
stay with
of
us?
business.
We lost you. We kind of lost you for half a second. That's okay.
Am I back?
You're
Yeah.
back. You're back.
I'm back. Okay. But yeah, no, I was just mentioning how we'll touch on both kind of like the technical as well as some of like those soft skills as well, like presentations, things like that. And then at the end of the 2 years, the goal would be, advancement and promotion, and that's based on performance. Because you'll come in at the analyst level, and then hopefully after your first 2 years within the firm, you'd be ready to promote to associate level.
This is extremely reassuring and actually something to be expected for a company like JPMorgan Chase. And the fact that really the candidates just joined I would say, the established HR grid of, employees, levels, salaries, compensation, all of that in companies like, at JPMorgan Chase, like many, top companies, is codified. And the fact that you are really entering that grid, you're not a subpar individual in the company. You're just you're just like everybody else, entry level. Your path to promotion, how you're going to be evaluated, and you get nothing less but what everybody else gets. And so that's extremely great to hear. It's not an internship where all of a sudden you feel like you're not exactly part of the the group, or an apprenticeship where usually the pay is slightly lower. That's awesome. And I'll say, you mentioned JPMorgan Chase is investing $3 billion in that type of program, which means there's a huge incentive to see all the candidates that go through the hackathon and are recruited to succeed. It's an incredible investment, and actually seeing a candidate fail after a while is at a loss for JPMorgan Chase. So, you mentioned, you have a program manager, a coach that's going to make sure that you're assigned to the right team, that's going to check in on you, that's going to make sure that you are learning the right skills. It all makes sense, because if the company that wasn't doing that, well, it will just invest the money at a loss. So this is huge. This is absolutely huge. So yeah, congrats. I'm really impressed.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and definitely, again, we're a bank. Banks are not going anywhere. If anything, there's just more technology needs. So, in a time right now where tech is starting to get a little bit shaky, and we're hearing about a lot of freezes and layoffs, there is job stability at JPMorgan Chase. Like I said, banks are absolutely not going anywhere. And if anything, there's more and more of a need to go more towards like that digital route.
Well, actually, I have a theory on that, Angie, and you, Charles and Jose, if you don't mind me sharing it and having a quick conversation on that. The need for tech skills is going to continue to grow. The challenge right now in the current economy and what we're seeing, the headlines is, it's very hard for a company to afford a $500,000 top developer, right? And so there's actually a bigger opportunity as an aspiring developer to come in and actually deliver, value at a much lower price point. What do you think? Is that the current, announced downturn and kind of the current shyness, I would say, around tech? Do you think as well it could be an opportunity for aspiring developer versus not?
I think, yeah, definitely. There's still going to be a lot of opportunities for people who are wanting to get their foot in the door. I can't speak to like the longevity or kind of other companies or like their investments. But I think, yeah, generally speaking, in terms of opportunities, it's out there, yeah, for people who are, looking to get that kind of launch their career, if you will.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to have a question, and maybe that's more for Jose and Charles. Let's actually dive into the hackathon. It's 12 hours total, beginning to end, 9 hours of coding. Can you tell us about? You both went through it. What are the questions that are being asked? Like how do you present? Like,
yeah. So there's actually not any questions. So we start off the hackathon. Like I said, we were in a pilot program when we started, so ours was a little different. But sounds like so, and I've actually I've participated in, and then I've helped run the next round of hackathons. So I've actually been on both sides of it. And with the last hackathon, everybody got to meet your team like day before. They were like, "Here's the teams."
Yeah.
Morning of it was like, "Okay, here's the start and go. Here's the topics." And basically, you're on a team of like I think is like most of them are like 7, 6, 7, 8. And say go make us a project, and that's it for the day. You guys go through the planning stages, you guys go through the who's going to do what, who's going to do where. There is a mentor that's going to be in the room with you the whole time. They actually trade off halfway through the day, so there's 2 different mentors that are there to help out.
They
if
will
you
be
guys get
that's a senior technologist at JPMorgan Chase.
there you go. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, they've been around. That's what I was gonna say. They've been around, so they know the questions. Do not be afraid to ask them stuff. They will help tone you down. Because I remember we had teams that I was hopping in and out of rooms during the last hackathon, and they were like, "Oh no, we're doing this, and this," and I was like, "Y'all need to slow down," because you only have 6 hours, 8 hours, or whatever it is, right? So it's very exciting to see what people can come up with and how much variety you can come up with a handful of topics, how different all the projects end up turning out during the day.
Would it be saying too much or leaking information if I asked you to talk about one of the topic? Like what could be a type of project that you're asked to build during those?
I was actually going to kind of chime in.
I can tell you my topic.
Or I don't think we want to share like specifics, but it will kind of tie into our Tech for Social Good program that we have, which is where we provide technology services to nonprofits free of charge. So the work that you do during the hackathon, it's not like actual JPMorgan Chase work. We're not going to use it for profit, for your free labor.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a social good challenge. And so it'll tie in with that. So it won't be like just create any app that you want. It'll be sort of like there will be some parameters around, solving this problem. It could be around like financial literacy or creating more jobs for women. I actually wasn't kind of too in the weeds for that for the hackathon, but it will be around a social good challenge that you're kind of looking to solve throughout the day.
And it's mostly driven by you. Like they give you the boundaries, right? But like within those boundaries, it's on you, how you shape your team. And for our hackathons, like what tech stack you used. Like we had 3 JavaScript Node developers and 1 Java guy, and we decided to do a React Node project. The Java guy was kind of a little bit off to the side, but he found ways to contribute, and he got hired, even though his I wouldn't say his role was like big, but he contributed and he was part of the team, and he was able to tell that to the mentors, because the mentors kind of check in. Not only they're there to help you, but observe, like, hey, what are you doing? If you're out in the corner and you're just there to be part of it, not contribute, they're gonna know. So you're not gonna be riding somebody's coattails into
the evaluation of your performance really starts the minute you start the hackathon. It's not necessarily just at the end when you present back. It's how you play for 12 hours with others.
100%. Yeah, we're looking
12
at
hours
how
under stress.
Yeah. Yes. We're very much looking at the soft skills as well during the hackathon. Right. So how you communicate, how you collaborate. If you're like yelling at your teammates, that's not someone we want at JPMorgan Chase, or if you're being disrespectful. So we're very much looking at all of that as well. Yeah.
That's cool. There's an interesting question about relocation. If you know the answer, Angie, like, is there a relocation compensation for if you're moving?
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely do welcome relocation candidates. At this time, we don't offer relocation compensation, but we are hopefully looking to kind of nail that down. I don't have any further details about that at the moment, but we will be able to share more about the compensation package at the time of the offer.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. All right, there's a ton of questions. Let me actually just answer that one. New Camp, we don't offer Java training, JavaScript, Python. So, but you can still, there's plenty of opportunities at JPMorgan. This one was quite interesting. I think it's really for you, Jose and Charles. What was your life before JPMorgan Chase?
I'll take it. go first, I guess. So I did, like I said, I did military right out of high school. I was in the army for 6 years. Got out, flip flop jobs. Tried to go to college. Wasn't really my thing. Ended up just working for my family. For at a print shop for 9 years. And then COVID hit. And everything was busy for a while. Then it kind of slowed down, and then I was like, I'm ready to make a change. I was like, I really enjoyed. I got introduced to tech when I was in the military, um, and it was more, but it was more on like the hardware side, not the software side. And then as I got into it, I was like, man, this would be kind of cool. Always in the back of my mind. And then I saw these, started hearing about these boot camps. So when I decided to make the switch. Jumped into the boot camp and took off. But
And
yeah,
so you
that's
got
where
the
I was
job
before.
right after the boot camp. You joined
I
JP
so
Morgan.
yeah, so I did my boot camp with Flatiron, and I was did Flatiron, graduated in early June, and I got the job offer in September. So I
That's
was
pretty
I
good.
was on the hunt for a few
That's
months
pretty good.
of
Yeah, 4 months is
hitting it
good.
every day, but I did end up getting the job offer. So
Congrats.
Yep.
How about you, Jose?
Mine's a little bit more structured. Well, not structured, but yeah, I guess structured. I get like Charles. I joined the army right after high school. I did my 21 years in the army, and then about a year before I got out, I was like, man, I got to do something else. I don't know what to do. I mean, like, so they have a lot of these transition programs. The army really is getting. I'm not. It's not a pitch for the army, but like the army takes care of you when you're getting out. They have these transition programs where they one of them was go to boot camp for 6 months while you're still in the army getting paid. I officially retired 1 September of last year, and the week after I officially retired, I had got an offer from JPMorgan and Chase. So
That's
I was very
awesome.
lucky.
Yeah.
But I had put in a lot of work before September. I had started while I was in my boot camp, like maybe halfway started, even though like I didn't feel prepared or like officially a software engineer, I had to, because I have a family and, I couldn't really afford that gap to be
Yeah.
too great between jobs. So I started shooting out resumes, job hunting, maybe like 3 or 4 months beforehand. And it was rough, honestly. It was a lot of questioning my my life decisions. But yeah, and then I was very lucky to get an offer. And but in the army, I was really more like a glorified mechanic. Instead of big tools, I use little tools to fix electronics, and that's how I got introduced to kind of tech a little bit. And but no programming, no programming jobs
Well,
before.
congrats to both of you. I just want to share Krista's message here, a word of appreciation. Oh, geez, we're gonna get to the end. Do you have a few more minutes? There's a few more questions that I want to get to. Is that?
Yeah,
are you,
yeah.
you
I was
agree?
gonna say my work day's over. Whatever you guys want.
What did I see here? Oh yeah, so um, there is that October cohort, which is, so when you say October, Angie, you mean start date when everybody is employed, or is it the hackathon that's in October?
Yeah, that's the start date for this role. So
Okay.
application opening, this week. Hackathon is August 11th. Offers getting out in the weeks following the hackathon.
So hold on a second, because I'm going to share the slide that you sent me. That's going to help
Perfect.
with that timeline.
Yeah, it'll have the key dates.
There we go. See? Okay.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. So the start date will be October 3rd. So that's when we say October cohort, we mean you're starting in October.
The job starts in October.
Yeah, the
The
job.
hackathon is in August. Say goodbye to your planned vacation if you had any.
I know. I know in Europe, if you're from Western Europe, that's a huge vacation month.
Yeah. Yeah. So it should have opened yesterday. It's going to open very soon. Follow the link. It's going to close a month later. So July 24th, you really need to get your application in before that. And then in between, you're gonna have to, send those videos and hacker rank, and then you'll start on October 3rd. That's great. All right, so let me remove that now. And then there was a few more questions. Oh yeah, well, it's a loaded question, but we had to ask, right? I think we have to ask that question. And I would say, actually, all three of you, right? You all three work at JPMorgan Chase. What's it like? What do you like about working there?
I will start because Jose and Charles can speak more to the software engineering side, but I've been with the firm for just under 7 months now, so I haven't hit a year yet, but I've been really truly and I'll say I didn't know anyone that worked at JPMorgan Chase before I started, so I kind of took a leap on like the culture and what it's like to work there. I was going into the unknown in terms of that, but it has really blown me away how inclusive and welcoming everyone is. And everyone, we do have a culture of mobility where a lot of people will move and jump around kind of within the firm. And I think because we really foster that, everyone is kind of open to always like networking and getting to know each other. And what do you work on? What do you do? Because you never know when you'll be rubbing elbows with your future manager or future colleague. Or you might say, hey, would you be interested in joining my team? Things like that. A recruiter on my team, he started his career as a software engineer for 3 years at JPMorgan Chase. Now a recruiter. We also recently reskilled someone who was a recruiter and then decided they wanted to be a software engineer. JPMorgan Chase paid for him to go through like a boot camp and learn how to code. And now he's a software engineer at JPMorgan Chase. Wow. So it's really blown me away, but I'll let Charles and Jose answer that.
So it doesn't mean that maybe one day we'll see you on the other side of the fence and you'll be a software engineer as well?
I don't know about software engineering, but I have had an interest in like data analytics, like learning a little bit of that kind of things. Cool. So yeah, I could be in a technical role, but I don't see myself, coding all day long. Yeah.
That's fair. How about, so Charles and Jose, what do you think of the company? It's only us right now. You can be honest.
No, I love it. And I'll try to keep it short. But like honestly, just being new and having all the opportunities to learn, like I know we didn't cover, but if you guys want to connect with me later on LinkedIn, I can tell you all the resources that I've used to learn within the company, and there's so many resources, and just the ability to talk to my manager and have a one-on-one with him. He sits right next to me, and he's very approachable. He's very he's down to earth, and honestly, with a new like and respect him, I like and respect him. So like the first thing is he told me, he was like, "Hey man, I don't really do deadlines." So I was like, "All right." So, but it's not going to be like Silicon Valley, like the show or anything like that. The one thing that I do like about it, coming from the Army, very structured in the Army, is that they have structure. It's like you know what to expect every day. I'm not dealing with like crazy stuff, so it's very, I know what to expect, and the people that I work with are very mature. They get the work done. It's and there's a lot of resources to grow in within the company. So
right. How about you, Charles? And then we'll probably wrap it up. We're a few minutes over, but what do you think of the company, Charles?
Apps is I was gonna say best job I've ever had. It's 100% like we were talking about. They're super supportive of you as a person, more than just hey, go crunch numbers over here, or go do this, or make sure this code's out. I've had opportunities that I didn't beforehand, like even like just getting like personal help and like therapy and stuff like that, and having access to those kind of things, and the ability to take time off to handle that kind of stuff is a huge thing. Or not time off, or even just time during the day to go to a doctor's visit or whatever, and not have to take a sick day just so I can go get my car fixed or whatever. You know what I mean? And everybody's super understanding, and like I said, and my managers are super approachable. I'm actually on a small team. There's like 12 of us total. And so we work full stack, and they were like Jose was talking about, they were like, hey, so what do you know how to do when I like got there? Because they didn't really quite know what to do with me. We're still pilots, and like we got there, and they were just like, what do you know? And I said, React and Ruby on Rails, and they were like, we don't do that here. We need you to learn Angular, and that we need you to learn Angular, TypeScript, and Java all at the same time. And they didn't just say good luck, but they were like, here you go. And I was putting tickets in within my first 3 weeks.
No way! 3 weeks after
Yeah,
learning the new languages.
Three
Nice.
weeks of hitting the ground, and it was very learn on the move on my team.
Cool.
But it's been a rush the whole time.
Yeah.
But they also listened when I was like, hey, like I am overwhelmed, and they were like, cool, we'll back off. And then like you can it's okay to set your limits with people, and I've never been able to do that with the job before, right?
That's
So
awesome.
it really has been like best job I've ever had.
Well, that's great to hear.
So,
Angie, before we leave, one question I think we need to address: if people are not ready for this upcoming cohort because they're still learning, they haven't graduated yet, do you know already when the next cohorts are going to happen?
Yes. So just to address for this cohort, you don't have to be graduated now to apply. You just need to be done with your kind of learning by the time of the hackathon. So by August, you should have completed your training. But if you're still not ready, our next cohort, that application will open around January, and we'd be looking at an April start date. But definitely connect with myself on LinkedIn. I'll be posting updates because as our program grows, we may be adding a third cohort on the year, and so those dates could fluctuate a little bit. But we would be looking at
right now. You have 2 cohorts a year at this moment in time, and you may be adding a third one.
Yeah.
That would make a ton of sense. All right. Well, it was a really huge pleasure to have you all on the show. I think it was a great conversation. I really, really love the program and what JPMorgan Chase is doing in that space. It's been great hearing from you directly, Angie, talking about the program, and of course from you, Jose and Charles as well, your personal experience, and you really seem to be enjoying the job and the environment. I mean, it's really, really all good. If people need to connect with you, they'll probably find you, I think, on LinkedIn.
Yes.
And you're available for any conversation, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. Right. Yes.
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you again
for having us.
Yes, you're very welcome. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye. Have a good weekend. See ya.
Bye, y'all.